Hey everyone, me Kevin here. There is a lot of talk circulating online that the Federal Reserve is trying to hide things from us. Oh no! But yes, there are tons of videos talking about the Federal Reserve canceling and ending the tracking of the M2 money supply because the Fed doesn't want us to know what's happening with our money supply. So they figure, we don't want you to know how much money or how much we're devaluing your dollar. Let's just hide the data from you. And there are a ton of these videos and articles around creating a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the Federal Reserve. Now, I'm not here to shill the Federal Reserve. I got my own beef with the Federal Reserve. It's really hard to get in touch with the Federal Reserve. If somebody works at the Fed or somebody wants to talk to me from the Fed, I would love to talk to you. Please reach out. But anyway, let's break down what's actually happening here. Is the Fed actually hiding data from us, or what is really happening? Because again, there's so much thought out there regarding this. I like to clear it up and talk about what's actually happening. So here's the thing. When you type in M2 money supply into Google, you get this chart from the St. Louis Fed. But it says discontinued, and the M2 money supply is sort of a tracker of how much money there is. And it's kind of interesting because it's sort of been going up consistently here, so our dollar has consistently been getting devalued, except when we go into the pandemic here, we have this sort of skyrocketing. It's more dramatic if you look at it like this. It's like all of a sudden it's like, boop, oh man, that's a lot of money printing, right? Basically, the M2 money supply in this chart here went from 15.5 trillion to 19.4 trillion dollars. And the M2 money supply includes things like checking accounts and savings accounts and other things. And we're not going to go through exactly the differences between the M1, the M2, and the M3. Doesn't matter. The M2 is one of the ways we track the supply of money. And so this chart has been going up since, during the pandemic, and all of a sudden, it's discontinued. And this is leading to a lot of thoughts that, oh my gosh, it's obvious. The Fed doesn't want us to know how much more they're going to destroy the value of our dollar, because now if this chart skyrockets again by the same amount because they just print that much more money, we won't know about it. And that's the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's going around, that the Fed doesn't want us actually to know how much inflation is happening. So they're just gonna pull the rug out from under us about all these charts. They're just gonna take them away from us and keep us in the dark. Well, unfortunately, that's not actually what's happening for the fearmongers. So unfortunately for the fearmongers, that is not what is happening. So what happened is this, and there is a change here, okay? In fairness, we gotta talk about the change. On December 17th, the Federal Reserve decided to make a change to the M2 money supply charts. Part of the reason, and they don't give a very clear reason here, which I'm frustrated about, which is one of the reasons I've been trying to get on the phone with the Federal Reserve, but I want to talk about what happened and potentially one of the reasons. So let's actually start with what actually happened. So right here, of particular note, the publication frequency of the release of the M2 money supply will change from weekly to monthly, and the release will contain only monthly average data. Weekly average, non-seasonally adjusted data will continue to be provided in the board's beta download program, while weekly averages seasonally adjusted will no longer be provided. Okay, and then they go on, other modifications include. So basically it's these two lines right here, where the Fed is essentially saying this. All right, look, we had this M2 money supply chart that we used to update weekly. And we used to update it weekly, both seasonally adjusted and non-seasonally adjusted. Now what we're gonna do, because I'm assuming maybe seasonally adjusting takes a bunch of work or whatever, I don't know, I'm not trying to make an excuse here. They're saying we're gonna get rid of the seasonal adjusted weekly data. We're gonna get rid of that. We're still gonna give you the monthly data, but we're gonna get rid of the weekly seasonally adjusted data. The non-seasonally adjusted weekly data, if you really care about the weekly data, we will still give that to you on a monthly basis. So basically, every single month, they will provide, I think the next release is coming up here on April 24th, they will provide once a month an update as to how much the money supply has grown. And in that update, we'll get a seasonally adjusted monthly set, seasonally or non-seasonally adjusted monthly set, and a non-seasonally adjusted weekly set. Okay, so that's what happened. So I want to contrast this, and then I want to go into maybe why. Okay, now, and practically what this means. So what actually happened here? The Fed did not take away this data completely. This data is not gone. The data still exists, and the data is going to stay here. All that's going to happen is it's going to move over to a monthly update. So for example, they even give a little chart here. This series will no longer be updated. This series will be replaced by basically this one here, M2 money supply. It's still here when the chart stops pinwheeling, of course. I'm trying to refresh over here. There we go. It's still here. So the data is still here. The only difference is this chart is only going to show monthly data. If we want, which actually kind of shows a little bit more of a smoother view, we get less of sort of the jigger jagger, which, you know, if we wanted the weekly data, they're still going to provide it, but they are making it a little harder to get the weekly data because you have to go into this basically downloader software and it downloads a little chart for you in a spreadsheet. So you can still see it. It's just not as convenient anymore. Now, the only reason they give for this, they do not go into any more detail. The only reason they give for this is to streamline the statistical release. So in other words, hey, if we provide less information, we don't have to do it as often, and I guess that streamlines the release. Now, it is a little weird. It's kind of like, hey, in this time when people probably want to see the monthly fluctuations, kind of like we used to have, like this, see, you used to be able to see all these kind of little ups and downs and bumps in the road. Oh, wait, sorry, there you go. You used to be able to see all of these bumps here. Now we just get sort of a more flatlined version of it. The data's still there. We just have a little bit less of a read on how that inflection point is changing or how those inflections are happening on a week-to-week basis. But honestly, I wasn't even looking at the M2 money supply on a week-to-week basis. Maybe I'd look at it once a month. For me, this doesn't really make a practical difference. The Fed is still providing this information. So if you hear any kind of disinformation out there that says the Fed's no longer providing data on the M2 money supply, that's wrong. Now, why the Fed went from a monthly or from a weekly basis to a monthly basis, again, I don't know. Maybe they are trying to hide something, right? Maybe that's where we got to be skeptical. But it's wrong to say the Fed is completely hiding data from us when that's not true. They're still providing that information monthly. And I think in fairness to data and what's right, we got to make that very clear. So here's the monthly data release. It says this data is released on the 4th Tuesday of every month, generally at 1 p.m. So in other words, now, much like unemployment, inflation, and so many other measures that are released monthly, all we have to do is wait for that monthly update, and then we'll get the data. It's not really being hidden from us, and again, we still have access to that monthly information. That means the 4th Thursday of April, for example, would be the 22nd. So on the 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern time, I'll even put it down on the calendar, we should get the H6 and M2 money supply release. So stay tuned for that. We'll take a look at it when it comes out. Not really expecting anything crazy, but I put it on the calendar. So anyway, hopefully this adds a little bit of clarity to all this drama that's going on. Personally, yeah, is it a little sus? Like, ew, really? Now you're gonna make that kind of change? Maybe, yeah, like 50% sus. Are they fully hiding it from us? No. Is it less visible? Yes. Does it matter? Probably not. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.